Now, the first thing I want to mention is that learning to read in your own language and learning to read in English as a second language are very, very different. And here's the reason why. Now, let's say you're learning to read in your first language, you're 5, you're 6 years old. The difference is that you can already speak English or speak your own language really, really well. You can already, you know your vocabulary, you've probably got about at least 10,000 words by the age of like 6 or 7. So that when you do read and you're encountering these words and you're putting together, these letters, you can decode meaning very, very easily. You haven't got that privilege reading in a second language, in this instance, learning English. So that's a very, very big difference. So it's very important to use reading to increase students' vocabulary, and also understand that reading for your students is a very, very different prospect from when they were learning to read in their own language. You must know that as a teacher and understand that and value that fact as a teacher. Okay, so you've got a reading passage that you want to teach your students. You want to base some of your class or all of your class around a reading passage. What is the very best way to do that? Now, an inexperienced teacher might kind of do one stage of their lesson. Okay, everybody now turn to page 28. You're going to be reading something about this. Read it. Okay, they start to read. I've been guilty of that myself, and yeah, it's very, very common if you don't know these kind of strategies that I'm about to tell you now. So what you need to do is just slow things down, and you need to divide your class, your reading class, into 3 stages: before, during, and after. BDA. Just remember those. BDA, before, during, and after. That's a task that you're going to give your students before you hand them out the reading. A task that you give to your students during their reading, and a task that you give to your students right at the end. And this will maximize your text. If you take anything from the video that you're watching right now, it's this: divide your class into 3 sections: BDA, before, during, after. So what does that exactly mean then? So basically you might have heard that it's a really good idea to set context, okay, to set your platform about what your students, what they can expect from what they're just about to read. About giving before tasks is not just about setting context. Giving a good before reading task is about generating interest. It motivates your students to really be interested and engaged about what they're about to read. It preps their brain for what they're about to read, and it just really heightens that level of interest, that level of intrigue, and it motivates them to really want to read what you're just about to give them. And that motivation, it's been found, it's cyclical. The more motivated students are, the more they are receptive to language. So by giving really good quality before tasks, by the time you give them that reading, they're really going to be ready for it. They want it, they're interested, they're motivated, and they really want to do the class. But slow things down. Give them a really good before task. So what might that be? Okay, so for example, let's say that you're teaching a teenage class, and your reading is about, I don't know, about someone going on a car journey and their car breaks down, just for example. Okay, so what kind of tasks might you give to your class before you hand out that text? Okay, so one example might be a brainstorm, and this is a really common activity that teachers can give to their students as a before reading activity. So let's say you tell the students that you're about to give them a reading, and it's going to be about a car breaking down. Now, before you do that, you can say, right, does anyone own a car? If they're a little bit too young, what kind of car would they like? Do they have any friends that own a car? How much did they pay for it? What colour is it? What make is it? Why did they choose that car? Is it a really snazzy car, or is it a clapped out banger? Get a discussion going about cars. Move it towards discussions about car journeys. Why do people drive cars on long journeys? Has anyone ever been on holiday with their parents on a long journey? Did they get car sick? Get the discussion going about car journeys, about car problems. Start to get the discussion going. You can write down any interesting language on the board so that students can look and refer to that interesting vocabulary, which probably will come up in your reading. You can kind of direct it and lead it that way. And by doing that, this is a classic before reading activity that will really prep them well for what they're about to read. And when they're actually reading it, they're thinking about car journeys, they're thinking about car problems, and they will understand what they're reading much better and be much more motivated to do it when they're actually doing the reading. Another activity that you can do for before reading activity might be get some pictures. So we'll stay on topic about the car journey. You could have a picture of a car, a picture of potholes in the road, or maybe a nail on the road, and then a picture of a flat tyre. Give each small group or each pair those 3 pictures, and you go, okay, you've got 3 or 4 minutes to invent a little story about involving these pictures. Of course, they're going to talk about a car journey. The car has run over the nail and it's made it go flat, and this is what happened. And then you can ask each pair, what was your story? What happened in your story? And again, you can write those little interesting words or language up on the board. Again, you've got them thinking about car journeys, car problems, things like this, preparing them for what they're about to say. And the last before activity that I have is actually quite interesting and probably something that the students have never done before, and it's listen to the reading. So what does that mean exactly? So you've got your text, and it's about a car that's broken down. What you can do is, just on your phone, you can record a little dialogue, just a monologue with yourself or with another colleague that's in the teacher's office, or get some sound effects. Little things like, have you packed the bags? Have you got everything ready? Quickly, we're going to be late. Oh, make sure we get enough petrol at the petrol station. So you're talking, and then then you can play the students your dialogue or sound clips or a little sentence here and there before you hand out the reading, and then ask them, what do you think's happening? What can you hear? Okay, what was that? Now what? And then you can get your students to tell you what they're hearing, what they think is going on. They can start telling you that it's about a car journey, maybe the sound of a car tyre going down. Oh, it's the car's got a flatty. That's right. And then you can use sounds and audio to prep your students for this amazing reading task. And this is the thing, you've really heightened their interest in what they're about to read, and they're ready to do the reading. So these are before tasks. Next up, you've got during. So these it's been found basically a classic kind of during activity is comprehension questions. So like true or false, read the text, true or false. How boring is that? Literally, how boring is that? Let's do better than that. It's okay, it's a classic, but it's hardly motivating, is it? It's hardly one to write home about. There's other during tasks that you can be planning that are going to be much more interesting for students and they're going to learn the language much better, and they're going to enjoy your classes much more. So the first one is, I call it emojis. So we all, we text every single day, and quite often we use emojis, right? So a little smiley face, little sad face, angry face, whatever. All of us do it, and your students are no different. They'll be doing it as well. So what you can do for a during reading activity is get your students to make up their own kind of 5 or 6 emojis to represent things that they're feeling while they read the text. So it could be a little smiley face, they're happy with their learning, they enjoyed reading that. It could be a surprised face, well, this is surprising, I didn't know that. An unhappy face, maybe they don't understand things about the text, there's words in there that they don't know, they find it boring. A shocked face, big popped eyeballs, like a shocked face. And while they're reading, they can draw in these little emojis on their text as they're reading it. And again, it's helping them to take a step back, consider what they're reading, and really kind of taking it in and being much more engaged with it, rather than just kind of true, false. That's pretty boring. We can do much better than that, and emojis are highly engaging for students. The second during activity is they read all of the text, and they understand it, and you kind of talk about it a little bit. And then what they need to do on a piece of paper is basically write a summary of the text in exactly 21 words. No more, no less. They have to summarise what they've read in exactly 21 words. I call this 21 or bus, like blackjack. And by doing that, it really makes them think about what is the most important point of the text. How would I summarise this, what I've read, basically? And by doing this also, you really get the students to kind of think about word choice, and also grammar as well. Like, how can you exactly get it to 21? They might finish, it's on 23. It's too many words. How can I rewrite that so it's grammatically correct and it still makes sense, and cut 2 words away? It's actually quite tricky and challenging and fun. So it's another way of breaking down what you've read, and kind of recycling what the students have read. Good word choice, good grammar to get it to exactly 21. And the final during activity that I like to do in my classes is to basically get a load of A3 paper, it's like kind of like this size, and then at the top of one of the bit, this text is important because. On the next one, I didn't like this particular part. On the next one, this was surprising because, and you can stick them around the classroom. So the students, once they've just finished reading, they can walk around, and then they can write down on the paper, on the wall in the classroom, bits from the text. So they're thinking about the text, they're analysing, they're looking around, they're moving, and you're making your classroom a real 3D learning space. It's not just about sitting at desks, sitting in chairs, static. Your classroom can be like a living, kind of breathing thing, moving around, much more exciting. And this, again, is a perfect activity that you can do when you're teaching reading. As an after activity, well, I've got 3 after activities. So you've done your before, you've got your students really excited and keen and ready and motivated and engaged, and they can't wait to read what you have to give them. You've now given really good during tasks. So now you're moving on to the final stage, which is after reading. So one really, you might have heard of speed dating. Speed dating is a bit of an ESL classic, and it's where you get like all of your students kind of like lined up, and they have to kind of pretend that they're on a date kind of thing, and speak to each other for a minute, and then after a minute, you know, you've got a time change, and then one of the lines moves along like this, you see. So this lot always stay where they are, this lot move, and every minute you're speaking to a new partner. It's a classic, it's called speed dating. But what this is you can, rather than kind of having the dating theme, you can have each pair talking to each other about the text, what they can remember, what happened first, what happened last, what was the conclusion, what do they think would happen next, what do they think happened before. And then after a minute, they can move along. And you can have students maybe have about 3 different partners, 4 different partners. I think everyone's speaking to each other, it might get a little bit repetitive. So you can probably kind of finish it after 4 or 5 partners. But this is a way to really recycle, get different ideas, and then once all of your students have kind of spoken to like 4 or 5 different people, you can get everyone sat back down or making a circle, and then, you know, do feedback and okay, John, what was your particular favourite bit of the story? What do you think happened after? And just kind of share ideas and give feedback. And it's a really nice way to finish the reading. It's not just a cold start and a cold stop. It's a multi kind of layered way of presenting reading. Yeah, that's it. And that's the whole point of it, you know, to make it meaningful. This is the thing, make your reading meaningful. Make there be a reason that you're reading this, you know, about a car breaking down or page 28. Make it worthwhile for your students. Make that they enjoyed the experience, and it was more than just reading the page. It was much more. A second really a fun way of doing an after activity might be to make a video. So everybody's got a phone now, right? Everyone's really comfortable with phones. Your teenagers will certainly have a phone. Get them into small groups or pairs and record small skits about what happened during the reading. Now, it doesn't have to be like 5 minutes long, very intimidating language production activity. You know, it really freak them out, and it takes a lot of preparation time. This could be like a little 10-second short interaction that happened within the reading, or something that they make up that kind of could have happened during the reading. It doesn't have to be very long, just 10 or 20 seconds long. And the point is just making it, turning input into output. Turning those receptive skills into productive skills. So they read something, now they're making the video, it's meaningful, it's fun, they're getting their phone out, this is awesome, and they're making those fun little kind of 10-20 seconds little skits, and they can share if they want to, they can send it to each other, they can have a laugh after class if they want to about it, and it makes it meaningful, and it turns your what you've read into just really good production, basically, and your students will be very happy with what they've done. And the final after reading activity, and this is something I'm actually going to make another video on, you know, a bit later on, is basically a journal, like a learning journal. So your students kind of have like a little kind of pocket book and keep in their pocket or keep in their bag. And then after every lesson, they can write down interesting vocabulary, or write down how they felt, just discuss the reading activity, and just write a few notes in it. And then later on in that evening, you can encourage a really good learning habit of looking back over their notes, increasing those encounters. You know, for vocabulary, it's been shown that students need to encounter words at least 6 times before, you know, otherwise it goes in one ear and out of the other. Students need repeated encounters, repeated exposures to the vocabulary before it gets remembered, so that they can recall it in a meaningful way later on. And it's this kind of thing that you can do after, or the students can do after your reading. They can write down the notes, write down the things that they enjoyed, write down the things that they didn't particularly enjoy. Just make those notes, and then later on that night, perhaps the next day, on the way to school the next time, before class, during class, whenever, keep looking back through the notes, repeating those encounters, recycling those ideas. And this is a really good learning strategy overall for all of your students, that they can learn English much better, develop better skills, keep better skills, be more confident in using English, and just be much happier, motivated and engaged students by keeping this learner log. And this is another activity that you can do. But anyway, please remember, for whenever you're teaching reading, don't just hand out the, I know that you won't anyway, but don't just hand out the paper, read this. Before, during, after, there is a process, there is a 3-stage, and you can make teaching reading one of your favourite skills. That's it. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and it's going to help you to teach reading, and it's going to help your students to become better learners of language and become better learners of English. TEFL Lemon has a 180-hour higher certificate in TESOL. It's a level 4 qualification. And you can learn all about that just in the link below. By using that link, you'll get 20% off the cost of the course. Unit 17 is all about teaching receptive skills. So it's also all about teaching reading and teaching listening. It's a huge unit. It's over 100 pages long, and it's a belter. It's full of awesome tips, strategies, little cartoon diagrams. It's a really modern course, informed by the very latest research, and for that it's all of the latest research in how to teach reading as a second language, or as an additional language, and also how to teach listening. So I hope you like it. But anyway, please subscribe. I haven't made a video for so long, I'm so sorry, and I will change. I'm going to make lots more videos now, have a little bit more time. So please subscribe, hit the old notification bell. I know you get bored of it, hearing from other people, but it's so important, and this channel can't grow without your help. So I would really appreciate that support. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.